Pickett,
Present.
Michael Atkinson,
Present.
Gail Hode. Does not look like she's on. Vic Caldwell. I don't believe he's on as well. Brittany Dearlum. She is not present. Dr. Darren Hunt.
Present.
Brian Olguin. Doesn't look like he is present. Brian Rokita
Present.
and Cynthia Staley.
Present.
It looks like we have a quorum of 5.
Okay, thank you very much. There is one announcement initially regarding participation in tonight's meeting. If you wish to participate in the citizen communication segment of tonight's meeting or any of our public hearings that we have, please, you'll need to do so through video conference. And we've set up this format to limit social gatherings and protect our citizens and city employees from COVID-19. To access the video conference during citizen communication, visit www.zoom.com from your web browser. Select Join a Meeting located at the top of the browser and input 959-0328-7216 for the meeting ID. Select Join followed by Open Zoom, then Join with Computer Audio. Click on the icon labeled Participants to access the option to raise hand at the bottom of the screen. Once you click Raise Hand, our moderator will announce you by your username you've selected, and that would be your cue to begin speaking to the council. Comments will be provided with audio only. There will not be an opportunity at this time to share your screen or any additional presentations. Please remember to silence any cell phones, televisions, or other background noise so that we can clearly hear your comments. Thank you. At this time, we'd like to open the citizen communication portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak on any item not on the agenda for a public hearing?
So we do have Sandra Hardy McKenzie that has raised her hand. Just a reminder, this section is for items that do not have public hearings. So Ms. McKenzie, you can unmute yourself and speak to the commission at this time.
Thank you. I'll wait until it's time for me to
Okay.
speak. I just want to make sure I was on board here. The
Okay.
Zoom. Thank you.
No problem.
Is there anyone else?
We have a Mr. Terrence. No, actually, nobody's hands are raised at this moment.
Okay, thank you.
Julie, he actually just raised his hand back again.
Okay, Mr. Bader, you can now unmute yourself and speak.
Hello?
Mr. Bader, you will have to unmute yourself to address the commission.
And
Yes, you are unmuted now, Mr. Bader.
yeah, I guess I'll wait because I border the property that's in question here.
Okay, you want to wait for the public meeting or public hearing for that item?
Yeah, the 503 East, 101 North Navarro.
Okay,
All right, I'm going back to mute.
yes, sir.
Is there anyone else?
There's nobody else wishing to speak in this section.
Okay, at this time, we'll go on our agenda items with public hearings. Our first item is a variance request for original Townsite Resubdivision number 58, Resubdivision number 1, Lot 1, RA. May we have the staff report, please?
Yes, so this is a variance request for the rear yard setback for the property at 101 North Navarro.
Julie, if I might just interject, this was the item that was on last month's agenda, right, that we postponed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
So this variance request has a bit of a background to it that I'm going to briefly explain and then get into the actual variance request. So as you can see the PowerPoint, you'll see an original plat that controls this Lot 1 RA that was first platted in 2015. When this plat was created, it created 3 single-family residential lots. Because residential lots are not allowed direct driveway access to collector streets, there was a private utility easement and access easement that was dedicated across the rear of these 3 lots to prohibit driveway access to North Navarro Street for those 2 interior lots that you see on this plat. North Navarro Street is classified as a collector street. Since then, at the beginning of this year, those 2 interior lots were replatted into 1 large commercial lot. Commercial lots do have the authority to access collector streets because our commercial parking standards require maneuverability area. And so basically any vehicular access to and from the lot is situated in such that vehicles can head directly out front facing onto roads instead of backing out like you usually see for residential properties. During this replat, you'll see that 25-foot private utility and access easement was abandoned. And then it was replatted into, like I said, 1 large commercial lot. This plat does not control the corner lot or the subject property, which is the 101 North Navarro, and it's the lot at the corner of Constitution Street and North Navarro. Since that plat was filed, the property owner has since filed an easement release by separate instrument that's been approved by all the original owners that were included in that original access easement. So now that that access easement has been abandoned, the original building setback line, which was first established at 25 feet to coincide with that access easement, because of course you cannot have a building in the middle of an access easement because that prohibits access, is no longer necessary. And so the applicant is now requesting a variance to reduce that 25-foot building line setback to 10 foot. The code requires for single-family residential or 2-family residential properties a minimum setback of 10 foot. So this variance request actually complies with the current City of Victoria setback code regulations for this property. And at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions before we go into the public hearing.
I have a question.
Want to note that the easement release was included in the staff report.
I have a question, and just for, I guess, more clarity. And I understood what you're saying. So right now, even though it was originally classified as a commercial lot, it's not being classified as that right now, right?
No, it was originally 3 residential lots with an access easement on the rear of those lots so that driveway access could go through that access easement. The middle 2 lots are no longer residential. They have been combined into 1 commercial lot. Therefore, the access easement that necessitated, that driveway access because they were originally residential is no longer needed.
And it does, and you said it does meet the requirements of the 10 foot of the easement.
Right. So the property owner has essentially 2 choices. They could seek a variance for the setback to reduce the 25-foot setback that was originally platted to 10 foot, or they can seek a minor replat, which actually would be handled administratively. But of course, there is a large cost in hiring a surveyor to then prepare that plat. But if they had gone that route, they would have, of course, incurred that cost. But there would be no need for a variance because it is a residential lot, and the residential lot minimum setback standards is 10 foot. So they chose instead to seek the variance route, which both are acceptable routes. And that is why staff is recommending approval, because it does meet the intent of an ordinance to have a 10-foot rear setback for residential properties.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we start the public hearing? And remember, our decision here is the variance, should the variance be authorized based on our 5 criteria that we have for approving a variance. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. And if you wish to speak to this item, please use your raise your hand feature on Zoom. Citizens will be limited to 3 minutes each.
So we have a Mr. Terrence Bader. If you will unmute yourself, you are now allowed to speak.
Yeah, I'm over here at 503 East 4th Street, and the picture you have up on the screen, the highlighted area in yellowish color, that's the lot you're talking about right now, or you're talking about the commercial lot they changed?
No, we're talking about the lot that is highlighted in yellow only.
Okay. Because that doesn't touch my property at 503 East 4th Street. So I don't have a lot of issue at this point unless they're doing something with that commercial lot in the near future.
No, this is not related to the commercial lot.
Before us is not the commercial lots that's been replatted. It's just the one residential lot that's on the corner there at Constitution and Navarro.
That's fine then. I don't have any issues. I guess the other neighbors might have something if there was anybody here.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else?
I don't see anyone that wishes to. Okay, Miss McKenzie has now raised her hand.
Ms. McKenzie, you have 3 minutes, please.
I raised my hand during the time that you said you would entertain questions before the public meeting started, but my hand raising was not recognized. So
That was
I don't know
only,
what,
that was only for members of the commission, ma'am. The only time you're allowed to speak is during the public hearing itself, which is
Okay.
what we have opened
Then
now.
I've sent a letter. My position is that the planning commission does not have the authority to grant this variance because what you're doing is allowing construction on a public easement, which has not been released. And it's my position, and if I've been allowed to ask questions during the public hearing entertainment, I would have asked that this abandoned plot, the other two plots, the commercial, now commercial plot, that easement has not been released by the municipality. And this easement on 101 Navarro has not been released by the municipality. So it's my position that the planning commission does not have authority to grant this variance. And if you do grant it, then the landowner is going to have a problem and a cloud on their title because if they construct a building on that easement, that public easement before it's released, then they could be forced to move the building. So it's my position that the construction on that easement and the variance would be improper and illegal on the part of the planning commission to grant.
I appreciate your position. I would point out to you, if you look at the plat, that was a private utility easement and access easement. It was never a public easement at any time.
Well, it is a dedicated easement and it's on the deed records well before 2015 and well before 2020. In
As a
fact,
private-
there's a line. I'm looking at the property right now, and there's a utility line that's along North Navarro, East Constitution on that North Navarro lot. And the wire runs from that pole across the utility easement to the house. But I've said my piece. I know you said you're already going to grant the variance. It's my position that it's an illegal position that you're taking. And I think the variance is inappropriate under the rules as set out in the variance ordinance for the city.
No one has said anything's going to be granted. That has not even been up for a vote yet.
No, you said it last time. You said it last time you were going to grant it, that it was just a matter of putting it off because you didn't provide proper notice.
Well, that's your position. That was not our position. There was.
Well, I
proper-
think the record, if you kept the record will reflect the words that you said.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to testify?
I do not see any other hands that have been raised. So at this time, we
Okay.
can close the public hearing.
At this time, we will close the public hearing on this issue. Is there any discussion from the commission?
I I would actually like to hear, I don't know if you could repeat what you said prior to address, I don't know if she's Esquire or Miss McKenzie, or even if Ms. Lacy could say, Esquire Lacy could say anything developing with that concern.
What concern, Dr. Hunt? The fact that it might be a public easement?
Yes.
So I have pulled up the plat and you can clearly see that it's a private utility easement and access easement. We have checked our GIS and I don't see any public easements. Sometimes with electric easements, especially if there's service lines going to the property, those won't actually be in public recorded easements. That's just part of your utility agreement to have service if you have an overhead electric line to your structure. And so we don't see any encumbrances by any public easements.
Does that answer your question, Dr. Hunt?
Yes, thank you for addressing that. I just wanted for the record that to be addressed.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other questions or comments? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion on this issue. Do I have a motion?
I'll move that we approve the variance.
Mr. Atkinson's moved that we approve the variance. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Hunt seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? None opposed. The motion carries.
Our second variance request is a variance to section 2182, minimum front yard setback of the city code, which requires a minimum 20-foot setback for the front yard of a single family residential lot for the property located at 722 Taos Drive, which is in the Cimarron Unit 5 subdivision. The property owner is requesting a complete variance to the platted 20-foot setback, front setback on this property in order to construct a carport. Staff does not recommend approval of this variance, finding that it could damage the character of the neighborhood. There is clearly an established building line of 20 foot along the entire street of Taos Drive, and the encroachment could alter the character of the neighborhood negatively. Here are some photos of the property. The top left photo does show the property front on with the white car in the driveway. And then we have some additional street photos where you can see that there's clearly an established building line where you don't have any front yard encroachments into that established 20-foot setback. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on this
Now,
variance.
that building line setback is on the plat, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions before we open the public hearing? I see none. At this time, we'd like to open the public hearing on this issue. If you wish to speak on this item, please use the raise your hand feature, and you'll be limited to 3 minutes, please. Is there anyone that would like to speak?
I'm not seeing anyone wishing to speak on this item.
Okay, at this time, we'll close the public hearing and open it up for discussion with the commission. Any questions or comments of any of the commission members? I see none. I'd like to entertain a motion if there's no discussion
I'll move that we grant it.
that you're moving that we grant it.
What, has there been an objection by the city to it?
Well, the staff is saying that we reject it because it'll alter the character of the neighborhood.
Okay, all right.
And just
All right. Then I withdraw my motion then.
one comment I would make, and I have a lot of friends that live in that neighborhood. That is a very congested neighborhood as it is. And I can see where if you began putting structures that started to actually even block your view as you're driving down the street, and there's a lot of on-street parking also in that neighborhood, that it could be a safety issue.
Now, they're asking for a complete variance. What are they going to do?
They're going to build a carport out
Well, that's what I thought they were going to do, yeah.
All the way to the property line.
all the way to the
that-
parking line, which would
That's
be,
very inconsistent with the neighborhood, seems to me.
it's very inconsistent with the neighborhood. And it would be against the Plat, basically the Plat lines.
I understand. Well, I misunderstood the situation exactly there for a few moments.
My only thing is, I guess, dealing with consistency. You know, of previous properties where they say, well, it takes away from the way the neighborhood looks, and it's been things that we granted. But so I always look at where you said you believe it'll be a safety issue, and you said it goes over. What did you say, Julie? You said it goes over the allotted space, right? Is that?
I'm sorry.
Say that last part for me on you were saying that it goes all the way out to the
Yeah, so he was requesting a complete variance for the full 28-foot setback so that a carport could extend all the way to the property line.
yeah, okay, yeah. I'll make a motion that we go forward with denying.
Now, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Dr. Hunt's made the motion to deny the variance and Mr. Atkinson has seconded it. All in favor of denying the variance? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the variance is denied. Our next item is a variance request for North Height Addition, Resubdivision number 15. Is there a staff report, please?
This is a variance to the minimum lot size for this property. There's actually two properties, one located at 1406 and the second at 1408 Goldman Street. So this, one of these properties has received, 1408 has received a conditional offer from the General Land Office to rebuild their property that was sustained damage during Hurricane Harvey. So we've been through quite a lot of these lately. In that permitting process, it was realized that there was an illegal subdivision of land in the 60s between these two properties. And so a plat was triggered with that building permit, which then, of course, we realized that the the second lot didn't meet the minimum lot size. So, as I said, this subdivision originally happened by meets and bounds in the 60s. The main house was built in 1940, and the secondary home at the rear lot on Goldman was built originally in 1940 and then added on into a second home on the property in 1965. So these conditions have long existed in this configuration. Because of that, staff does recommend approval of these variances to allow one lot to be 5,227 square feet. And then the second lot does, I believe, meet the minimum requirements. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the staff at this point? I believe this is similar to a couple of other situations we've had since the hurricane, especially where people are being granted money to rebuild on
Yes.
what we're existing.
And I should point out, it's not just the minimum lot size, but it's also the minimum lot width. But again, this condition has existed since 1965, essentially. So we're not really changing the character of the neighborhood by granting this variance.
Right. Okay, at this time, I'd like to open the public hearing on this variance request. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak on it, please raise your hand. Do we see anyone, Julie?
I do not.
At this time, we'll close the public hearing. Is there any discussion from members of the commission? Like I said, this looks like a very similar situation that we've had in a number of instances where we've had damage from Harvey, that people are now being allowed to rebuild their homes that have been there for some time. I'd like to entertain a motion on this variance at this time.
I'll make a motion to approve variance.
Dr. Hunt, move to approve it.
I'll second it.
Okay. It's been made, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries and the variance is adopted. I believe our next item is approval of the preliminary plat for the preserve subdivision. Julie, if you please give us a presentation.
Yes, so the proposed subdivision, or the proposed preserve subdivision is a approximately 55 acre tract that is located southeast of the North Zach Linz Parkway and FM 236 intersection on 236. It is proposed to be 46 rural residential lots contained within 3 blocks in 2 phases. There is proposed to be 2 new local streets, Access Trail and Whitetail Lane. As part of this, the water will be provided by water wells, and the sewer will be provided by sanitary our on-site septic systems. Staff does recommend approving this preliminary plat, finding that it does meet all of our minimum requirements. And I should note that this is in the ETJ.
Are there any questions for the staff on this item? Hearing none, is there any discussion from any members of the commission? Do we need to do a public hearing on this one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Although-
At this time, let's open the public hearing on this agenda item. Is there anyone who would like to speak on the adopted preliminary plat? Please raise your hand.
I do not see anyone whose hand is raised, although the agent of the preliminary plat, Representative Urban, is attending if there are any specific questions.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion from the commission or questions? May I have a motion on this agenda item?
All right, I move we approve it.
Mr. Atkinson moved that we approve the plat. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the preliminary plat is approved. The next agenda item is our consent agenda. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of the March 18th meeting? Any questions or changes or? And then we also, on that agenda is approval of the final plat for North Height Addition Resubdivision number 15. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Hunt seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's adopted. Next item of business would be the monthly development report.
So as you can see, we did have kind of a busy month. We had 6 minor plats and 4 site plans that were reviewed by our development review team.
That looked good.
And then our permit valuations are up over last year. Of course, we all know last year was the very beginning of COVID, so we probably will start seeing a lot of improvements in whenever we compare the next coming months with the previous year. But we issued a value of $2.4 million in permits, issued 191 MEP permits, and then collected a total of $52,000 in fees.
Looks good. Any questions or comments on the development report? Are there any other items from any of the commissioners they'd like to discuss at this time? I guess not. Well, appreciate everyone's attendance. Thank you for coming.
I did have one quick announcement. We do plan on going back in person if we can manage it at our next commission meeting in May.
Good.
That would
So we
Good.
do
That's
plan on
great.
trying to hold it at the council chambers. And we're going to have to see how we can space everyone out. We still may require masks up on the dais because of the spacing, but we do feel like it's time, and it'd be really great to get everybody back together.
It will be.
Yay.
I'm for that.
Good deal.
Okay. Well, thank you again, everyone. And at this time, I'd like to adjourn the meeting and see y'all next month, hopefully in person.
Yeah, but
Thank you, Barry.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.